everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do more Khan Academy.
Is it closer to 3 tens or is it closer to 4 tens? Well, you can just
Okay. I don't see enough.
Locals dry them under the sun so that the goat can be completely air dried. This way, they can be stored for a long period of time. Once gluten is placed in water, it's immediately rejuvenated. When cooked with native chicken, the gluten becomes soft and fully absorbs the delicious and rich flavor of chicken soup. Today, the couple will make the last batch of gluten before the winter comes. Flour and water are all the raw materials they need.
Well, in this video, we're going to be doing some rounding, which you're probably not familiar with just yet, but you'll see that it's pretty straightforward, and we're going to start by rounding to the nearest 10. So the first question is, what is rounding, and why is it even useful? Well, let's say that you have the number 37. It's a fine number, but let's say that you have to do some math with the number 37, and you can do a lot of math with the number 37, but let's say you just want to estimate what something might be. Let's say that someone says, hey, I have 37 pickles, and you have 39 pickles. Roughly how many do we have together? We don't have to have it down to the exact number of pickles. Well, then rounding will actually be a very useful tool. But let's just focus on what it means to round to the nearest 10. So when they're talking about rounding to the nearest 10, we're going to be thinking about the tens place of the number. So we can see right over here in our tens place, we have a 3. And so that 3 represents 3 tens. So the number 37, it's 3 tens and 7 ones. So it is more than 3 tens, and it's going to be less than 4 tens. So this number is going to be more than 3 tens. I could do it like this. It's going to be more than 3 tens, which we can represent like that. 3 tens, 0 ones, or you might know that as 30. And it's going to be less than 4 tens, or also known as 40. And so when you're rounding, you're either going to round to the number of tens that is right below this number, or the number of tens that is right above that. But how do we know whether 37 rounded to the nearest 10 is going to be 30 or 40? Well, to answer that question, let's first just do it visually on a number line, and then we can come up with some rules for ourselves. And so first of all, let's just count by tens and make sure we include 30 and 40. So if we start at 0, 10, 20, actually let me have a little bit more space because I want to see the interesting things that are going to go on. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. That's enough, but I could just go to 50 just to complete this number line. And so where is 37 on this number line? Well, it's between 30 and 40. And if I wanted to make it a little bit clearer, if I said that this is 35 right over there, right in between 30 and 40, then 37 is going to be right about here. So that is 37. And so when you're rounding to the nearest 10, and remember, we're picking between 3 tens and 4 tens, you say, which 10 is it closest to? Is it closer to 3 tens or is it closer to 4 tens? Well, you can just look at this and say, hey, it looks a lot closer to 4 tens. And so in this situation, 37 rounded to the nearest 10 is going to be 40. And so you might ask a question, well, give me another number. What if someone said 32 rounded to the nearest 10? Well, 32 is going to be right over here. And then you'd say, all right, well, that's between 3 tens and 4 tens, but it's a lot closer to 3 tens. So 32 rounded to the nearest 10 is going to be 30. At this point, you are likely already familiar with the idea of rounding. Probably you have had some practice rounding to the nearest 10. Now we're going to do another type of rounding. We are now going to round to the nearest 100. So let's just start with an example, and you'll see that in a lot of ways it's very similar to rounding to the nearest 10. We're just looking at different place values now. So let's say we have the number 345, and we want to round this to the nearest 100. So pause this video and see. I know I haven't even taught you how to do that, but what's your intuition? What is the nearest 100 to 345? Okay, now let's do this together. And what we want to do is first look at the hundreds place. And you can see 345 is 3 hundreds, 4 tens, and 5 ones. So 345, the number of hundreds that is right below 345 is 3 hundreds. So it's between 3 hundreds, 0 tens, and 0 ones. And then the number of hundreds that's right above this number is 400. We're in between 300s and 400s. So if we're going to round this to the nearest 100, it's going to go to one of these two. Well, to think about which one we round to, we have to think about, well, is 345 closer to 400 or is it closer to 300? And to think about that, we can draw ourselves a number line. And so let me just start my number line here I'll just start it at 200. So that's 200. Let's make this 300. And then this would be 400. And then let's just see, this would be about 350 right over here. So I'll draw the 50s right over there. So that's 350. So where would 345 sit? Well, 345 is a little bit less than 350. It's going to be roughly right over there. So which 100 is it closer to? Are we closer to 300 or are we closer to 400? Well, you can visually see 350 is right in between. It's 50 away from 300 and 50.
The fully fermented dough is extremely elastic. It takes a lot of effort to cool the dough and to place it evenly on the tray. Unlike Gaotai's steaming mill, the people of Jiuquan use an oven. The air holes start to expand in high heat. Its surface dries and turns brownish in color, producing the aroma of grains. Baked gluten becomes loose in texture. They look like toast. It's tender and a bit crispy on the outside, and soft and warm on the inside. Xiaoshango's Gluten Shop, gluten is the most popular item.
Do you want some gluten? Sure, it's great.
Place the ingredients in the soup in their proper order. The gluten is the last to go in. It's smooth and light. Because of the special texture of gluten, it doesn't get soggy. It becomes full of soup instead, and it absorbs its spicy flavor. This is the proud breakfast of champions in Geo. The people of Gansu's love for gluten is not only due to its mesmerizing texture and flavor, it's also because of the ingenuity and the effort put into making it. It's still present after wheat was introduced to the East thousands of years ago. The summer rain brings the valley back to life. Everything is growing, including invisible microorganisms in the jar. This kind of light soup is called superb. It's made by fermenting vegetables. In Qian Shui, every household is used to having one. Xiao Aijin is the superb expert in the Wengu village. It's time for the ingredients she placed in the jar a few days ago to come out. The vegetables are tender. The soup is refreshing. The sour aroma brought by the fermentation is unique and mild. Qian Shui is located on the boundary between northern and southern China. Forests cover almost 50% of the land. It has a mild climate that's rare in Gansu. The varieties of wild vegetables not only taste good after cooking, but they can also become the raw ingredients for making super. Xiao Aijin needs to find a wild vegetable called endive. It only grows during two seasons, spring and summer. It has a slightly bitter taste. Its stems and leaves are crispy and juicy. She thinks they're the best raw ingredients for making super. Superb seems simple to make, yet it's very specific. No meat or fish products can be involved in the process. Boil the soup, then add endives. Bacteria is killed in the process of cooking. The flavor transformation includes one last important step. Old Superb is the best yeast. When the lactobacilli inside it meets the starch in the soup, the time spent under the heat stimulates the fermentation of a new soup.
Content mo?
Is that a content?
Yes.
Bakit nagsasalita ka, magbabasa?
Superb already has over 1,000 years of history. The Qian Shui ancestors discovered its beauty by accident. In its long coexistence with the local flavor, people in the northwestern region have mastered its fermentation process. Life in a rural village has a slow pace. Endive Superb also needs to wait from 1 to 3 days of fermentation. the action of microorganisms and enzymes, the enzymes become soft. Its bitter taste is slowly removed. A large volume of lactobacilli is produced. Superb emanates an aroma that's very easy to recognize. Raw Superb can be consumed directly, but it would have a slightly pungent flavor, which makes some people avoid it. However, people in Chen Shui have a way of making it more approachable. Add seasoning ingredients and stir fry them on high heat. Locals call it stir-fried Superb. It's slightly sour and spicy, with a mild and savory aroma. It can be used for home-cooked meals, and it can also be a part of flavorful dishes in restaurants. Jia Aijin loves to make these kind of noodles more. Press the batter of cooked noodles through a slotted ladle and place in cold water to form their shape. With a fish-like tail, it's called yuyu. Add 1 spoonful of stir-fried super, and the yuyu becomes soft and agile. In the heat of summer, superb yuyu makes dinner in rural villages
Thank you
more
guys for
refreshing and
watching.
comfortable.
Bye.